Entrepreneurs, some of our top entrepreneurs from around the United States tied to our small business program. And I want to thank SunTrust Bank for hosting this segment of our program and, again, their sponsorship under our Hope Inside model. And so at this time, I would like to introduce our panel experts who are going to be participating in this part of our entrepreneurship session. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Lynette Bell to the stage, who's the Enterprise Community Reinvestment Officer at SunTrust Bank. Let's give her a round of applause. Mark Chancey, who's the Vice Chairman and Co-Chief Operating Officer and Consumer Segment Executive with SunTrust Bank. Give him a round of applause. And last but not least, Mr. Stan Little, who's the Corporate Marketing Strategy Operations Leader for SunTrust Bank. Let's give them all a round of applause as our experts representing SunTrust. So this segment is considered the Hope Adult Entrepreneur Business Incubator session. And as I mentioned, we have business owners from around the United States who are going to tell their story to all of you. And so without further ado, I would like to invite from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., the McFarlands, who are with the honey bun business. And so if we can have Mr. and Mrs. McFarland come on out at this time. Let's give them a round of applause.
All right. Good evening. My name is Anthony McFarland.
And I'm Tisha McFarland, and we're the proud owners of the Honey Bun Cake Factory, and we're based in the Washington, D.C. metro area.
We're the only pastry company in the world who specialize in honey bun cakes in over 50 different flavors. Get excited. We started our business when I got laid off on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve, I got laid off, yes. And so I had to continue to support my family. So my wife, she bakes honey bun cakes. It was therapeutic for her. So I said to her, honey, are you charging these people when you're baking these cakes, your coworkers and friends? She was like, no. And I was like, really? She said, no. I said, let's see if you can try to make some honey bun cakes and sell it so we have some income until I find a job.
So we started selling our classic honey bun cake at a marketplace in D.C. And within the hour of us being there, we were sold out of all of our cakes. So my husband wanted to find out, venture out to other restaurants to see where it could take us. So we went to one restaurant in D.C., a small restaurant in D.C., and the owner, he bought 1 or 2 cakes the first week. The second week, he bought 5 cakes, and then by the end of the month, he bought 10 cakes per week. And then within a year, we were in 10 different restaurants.
The owners actually said, we never seen cakes like this in my business sell that fast. We never heard of it. So basically what we did at the time, no one in D.C. has never heard of a honey bun cake. And that was a new groundbreaking for us in the pastry business. Also, however, we had absolutely no idea how to operate a business, no experience whatsoever. So we had a mutual friend that was a former alumni graduate from Operation Hope that referred us to Hope Inside in Washington, D.C. So we went and enrolled and registered in the program, and we got accepted. We could not believe how Operation Hope gave us very advanced classes if we was in college courses. The studies, the workshops, the quizzes, the tests, even the projects we had to do. But finally, we graduated. And once we graduated, we learned so much about our competition, the demographics that we had to research, and how to brand our product. And we also want to show you how Operation Hope has really had assigned us to one person who has so much passion. Her name is Cynthia Harris. She is our mother of Operation Hope. She's our nurturer. She nurtured us, motivated us. She gave us so many things. She called us still to this day to stay on top of us, things that we would never think that Operation Hope had the passion to do.
And since we graduated from Hope Inside, we have a licensed wholesale distributor license. Our logo and our company quote is officially trademarked. We have an online store where we ship nationwide. And today, our cakes are in over 50 restaurants in the D.C. and Maryland area.
Wow.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Since we started, our overall sales have increased by 60%. And in fact, our cakes have become so popular, we have new restaurant owners coming to us asking to carry our cakes in their establishments.
All right. That's great.
But right now, guys, currently, we're operating out of a small commercial kitchen when we got started, and we're definitely grown out of it. So we're seeking to seek out a bigger space. But at the same time, we don't want to lease it out. We want to own and buy our own building. That's what we like to do.
Amen.
All right. Our storefront will be used to carry out for our bakery, as well as our shipping, our goods, our online store, our distributions, as well as our restaurants will be shipping nationwide.
And we also want to develop our very own honey bun cake mix to distribute to nationwide retailers across the U.S. Wow. That's what it will look like. That's our prototype.
Get excited.
They came prepared, didn't they?
We want to...
I'm sorry. Also, we want to have a 24-hour cake ATM. It's kind of like a vending machine in front of our storefront. Yeah, we want to make money while we're sleeping. So if you get a craving at 2 a.m., you can come to our storefront and get a slice of honey bun cake and be on your way.
We want to give a special thanks to. We're looking forward to serving you guys and having our products in your neighborhood nearby soon. And we want to give a special thanks to Hope Inside and SunTrust for making our dreams become a reality. And right now, you can also purchase our product on our website, www.thehoneybuncakefactory.com. Again, it's www.thehoneybuncakefactory.com. We thank you so much.
All right.
God
That's
bless.
great. Congratulations.
Now stay right there. Don't go anywhere, because our panel experts may have a question or two for you.
I think we do, and I'm going to start by saying I just kept checking them off as I was going. So the only thing I want to know is, do you need tasters or anything like that for the business?
Absolutely.
I can be a taster.
Absolutely.
Stan, you
Rush
cannot
all
have
samples.
mine. You just stay away.
I'm going to offer something to you. Do you know Jenny's ice cream?
We've heard of that.
So write this down. Jenny's ice cream, Chapani, Greek yogurt, Springer Mountain chicken. Those three things are forerunners to the business that you're on right now. They've already paved that path, and you're following in their footsteps, and they are international and phenomenal.
Thank you.
So go away and Google those folks up.
Thank you. Thank you. We will.
So my question is, I'm sure everybody in the audience wishes they had a little bit of honey bun cake today at lunch, but how are you going to drive to scale? I love the ideas and concepts to move the business forward. So right now, from a distribution standpoint, because you are the bakers, are you employing residents in the D.C. metro area to support the distribution of your product out in market? Because I know if you can go online and buy it, I'm going to buy it from Georgia because this is where I live after I sample my taste.
Yes,
okay.
we do currently have a staff. Again, our cakes are trade secrets, so they have to sign a disclaimer,
It's a
confidentiality.
confidentiality disclaimer.
And we have to be careful for who we hire because they have to commit to be with us long term.
Wow.
And so we do have a handful right now that has been with us for about 4 years.
Yeah.
About 4 years. And, you know, we're starting small, but we're thinking big. So we're growing our business like soup. We're cooking it slow so you can be fine it later on, if that answers your question.
And that's also one of our challenges. We want to make sure we keep up with supply and demand.
Right.
So we've had major interest from major retailers, but we just don't want to get a call and they tell us we need 500 cakes in 2 days and we're not able to supply it.
Right.
So that's what we're moving toward, seeking funding for it and also having the staff to be able to support
Support
it.
it. Right.
Tish and Anthony, congratulations on all your success over
Thank
the last
you.
several
Thank you.
years.
Thank you.
What's the number one thing that the Operation Hope team was able to support you and give you advice around that's really helped your business?
Well, I can tell you the first thing when we got there, we didn't even have a business plan. We were operating a business. We had no idea what to do, so we were just kind of felt like the hamster in the wheel and trying to keep up, and we were maintaining it, but it wasn't organized the way it should have been.
It's very well organized. I took a look at it this morning. Y'all did an excellent job.
Thank you.
So if that was something that Operation Hope helped you with,
Yes.
It was.
made a lot of progress.
Getting it, finding out who our competition was, knowing our demographics, just getting us, we were able to hit the ground running even more so.
Gave us the foundation that we need to have a solid, firm rock to stand on.
Excellent. Well, good luck to both of you.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic.
And this is fantastic. I've already tried
I
it.
see you beat me to it.
I
Yeah.
can't wait. It looks too good. I'm sure it tastes good, too.
Congratulations.
Let's give the
Thank you.
McFarlands a round of applause, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, that is
All right. So that's Washington, D.C. We got someone else from Washington, D.C. also.
Be able to eat mine.
So we got someone from the great city of Chicago. So at this time, I would like to bring up Ebony Jones from Chicago, Illinois. Ebony.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Ebony Jones, and I am a graduate of Operation Hope inside Inglewood Whole Foods, Chicago. I was feeling overwhelmed. For 2 years, I was operating my business without a business plan, and I didn't want to operate on the fly. So I found out about Operation Hope inside Whole Foods Inglewood, Chicago 12-week entrepreneurial training program from a flyer on Facebook. On Saturday, September 23rd, 2017, I attended my first entrepreneurship training as I sat and listened to Mr. Bruce Montgomery speak passionately about starting and growing a business. It made me feel like my dreams of owning a successful business can be a reality. It was actually during one of these workshops that I learned about the 2017 Inglewood Quality of Life Business Pitch Competition. I am happy to say that with the assistance and the skills and technique that Operation Hope and the one-on-one coaching that I received, I was finally able to work through the pain points of my business plan and successfully won the 2017 Inglewood Quality of Life Business Pitch Competition.
All right.
Well done.
26 seconds is all it takes for chemicals found in skincare to enter the bloodstream. The residents of Inglewood in the Chicagoland area needs natural skincare. Just Eat Skincare is a cruelty-free, natural, handmade skincare line for men, women, and children. With unemployment high, we provide employment opportunities to the community as brand ambassadors. We will work to have both healthier skin and lives by creating gluten-free, plant-based, non-GMO skincare and be an enjoyable place to work. Inspired by a kid, created by a mom, Just Eat Skincare was born out of need and a love and passion for natural skincare. Our skincare products are sold online at local farmers markets and at pop-up retail boutiques. With the assistance of Operation Hope inside Whole Foods Inglewood, we are now moving into the second stage of having our products in Whole Foods.
All right.
All right.
That's great.
Great.
Well done.
We would love to see a manufacturing facility brought to the community of Inglewood that deals specifically with the manufacturing and production of products.
That's great.
Operation Hope inside Inglewood Whole Foods Chicago not only gave me the skills and confidence to succeed, but they helped me develop a business plan, a solid growth plan, a network, a team of experts I can depend on, and an opportunity to make a real impact in the Chicagoland and the Inglewood community. And I cannot say thank you enough.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so stay there now. Don't leave. So our panel experts have some questions or comments for you.
So congratulations on that. So over the next 3 years, I hear manufacturing, I hear you want to take the business to the next level. What in your wildest dreams would happen in 3 years if you could have everything ideally that you'd like?
In my wildest dreams, I would love to have 100 brand ambassadors out selling and promoting our product, and I would love to see the product being taken nationally in all Whole Foods, in Target, in hotels and spas as well.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Ebony, congratulations on your progress.
Thank you.
You've had this business that you've built personally.
Yes.
How did Hope Inside help you think about the way you could scale the business in terms of that manufacturing and working with a third party that could keep the quality that is so important to you in the product?
Okay, so they helped me develop 3 different revenue streams. Initially, when I came to Hope Inside Inglewood, Chicago, I only had 1 revenue stream. I was just selling at home parties. But with their assistance, we were able to be placed online, and then I'm moving into, I'm building my business to business, and then we're also recruiting brand ambassadors, which I didn't have before I started.
Good, good.
And the, in the same spirit as the other discussion, I want you to remember this: Curl Box. Do you know Curl Box?
I have heard of Curl Box.
You got to connect with Sister Teal on Curl Box.
Okay.
She knows your space. She's a multimillionaire. She's a young woman just like you, with a passion just like you, and she followed a similar path, and I think you'll learn a tremendous amount from her.
I'm going to look her up.
Good. Well, good luck to you.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right, let's give Ebony a round of applause.
Thank you.
Chicago in the house. Okay, our next entrepreneur is also from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and her name is Petra Vasari. And let's have Petra come on up. Come on up, Petra.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Petra. I'm a founder of Solex, the very first flotation and the only flotation therapy center in the nation's capital. I always had the dream of making this therapy available to the Washingtonian, where the stress level is very high. So for many years, try to write business plan, come up with the capital, and also try to start this business. So that's what I was introduced to Operation Hope. This was after many years, 7 years of being at this, trying to write a business plan, trying to find the money to start, and also doing a lot of research. So for someone who has never run a business, didn't have the money, and on top of that, very low credit score. So that's where it just seemed impossible for me to reach this dream that I had. And that's when I found out about Operation Hope through Small Business Administration. They advised me to get in touch with one of their community members and get where they offer Operation Hope, where they offer free counseling, credit and business counseling. So I met with Cynthia Harrison, who is a small business division at Operation Hope. And after taking credit and money management classes and entrepreneurship program after 12 weeks, we decided to resubmit our loan package to SBA preferred lenders. So we got approved for $350,000 loan to start the business.
Amen. Amen.
We opened the doors to Solex on September 2017. I started myself and 1 employee. Today, we have 4 full-time and 2 part-time team members. After being in business for 2 months, we were breaking even. And today, being open only for 7 months, we basically are cash flow positive and only being occupied half the occupancy. Thank you. Thank you. So it was just, help of Operation Hope, their business advising, and also throughout the whole journey, they help us to find a location, get through health department permitting, city permitting. So all of that, they took our hands along the way. Again, we've been open for 7 months. We've been serving more than 2,000 customers within 7 months, among whom are professional athletes, members of Congress. We have customers from high government jobs that come to us to distress and relax. And we've been featured on Washington Post and other news channels. At the same time, we've got 2 offers from other real estate owners to open our second locations. So thanks to Operation Hope for paving the way to a real change and a positive and real change in the world. Thank you.
Love it.
Well, stay right there, Petra. Our panel experts.
I'd like to. So, Petra, one of the great things about what you've laid out in your business plan is you're helping relieve stress.
Yes.
SunTrust and our purpose of lighting the way to financial well-being is all around the financial stress that folks are feeling and the need to relieve that side of their stress. You're helping relieve other aspects in partnership with Operation Hope, which has been such a great partner for us. Talk about the things that they helped you in terms of refining that business case, particularly as you're thinking about the capital costs associated with each one of the different facilities that you need to stand up for your business.
Yes, exactly. Well, for someone who had no experience, I had never run a business. My credit score was very low. So with the counseling and also, writing a good and solid business plan and financial projection, that was one of the main help that I got from them to understand the financials of a business. You know, how much will be our expenses, how much are we spending, and how much exactly do we need to start a business. So all of that, it was eye-opening for me because I never ran a business. I didn't know anything about business.
Excellent.
So
Come to Atlanta soon.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Please. I'm in a high-stress job. I think. Can you say 1 or 2 things about what inspired you from the beginning? Because you said you've been at this for about 7 years or so before you connected with Operation Hope. So, I've never heard of this kind of therapy before. Where was that inspiration?
Well, my background, my passion, my mission has always been to, promote health and wellness, especially reducing stress, the energy that we always, we are facing on a daily basis. So when I tried, again, my background is in health and wellness. So when I tried the flotation therapy myself many years ago, I thought this is a great addition to Washington, D.C. because I've lived in Washington, D.C. for many years, and I've known the stress. So I thought this is a great addition to help to take a break for the Washingtonian to take a break from their everyday, hustle and bustle.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
And I want to ask the final question. So you said my credit score was low when I got there. I'd never run a business. My question, and John talks about this all the time, John O'Brien, is that we bring hope to the masses to help get them focused and geared on what they want to do around their passion. And John is leading his passion now. How has this experience with Operation Hope, as well as getting your business off the ground and having employees and paying payroll, how has this affected your family?
Oh, tremendously. I mean, what I'm teaching, what I'm showing my children, they're small children now, but they know about business. They're learning about business. They're getting inspired to how to work with money, how to spend, how to save money, and also credit score. I mean, that's something that, they're a little too young now, but that's what I want to make sure they understand in the future, because I didn't know that. I didn't know how much is important if I wanted to start a business to have a good credit score.
So you're building the foundation with them now, so they'll be business owners when they grow up.
They already.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Petra. Let's give Petra a round of applause. And I love the fact that, not only were we keeping business in the family, we saw the McFarlands earlier, but as we saw and heard with Petra, the fact that she's exposing her children at a young age about the options of being an entrepreneur. And so we love that. The next person I'd like to have up is from hometown, great city of Hotlanta. And that's right. And so I'd like to have Mr. Andre Mayfield come up at this time. Andre?
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
My name is Andre Mayfield, and I am Managing Director for Worldscapes LGP. Worldscapes LGP is a landscape contract management provider for the Southeast. We pretty much emphasize in all aspects of landscape services, but the way that we make our business so vibrant is that we have three core principles, and those principles are customer, company, and community. We make sure that we hire local contractors to execute many of the deals that we procure, and our base is both government and commercial customers. No residential in this one. Most of the time, when we give opportunities to those local providers do outstanding work, and that's what we wanted to make sure. And we're also doing a lot of quality control in that aspect also. There are two big pushes that, with Operation Hope's help, we had to get back and we had to refocus. We had to make sure that we were on point and that we were actually doing what we said we were going to do some years ago when we started out in '98. The one thing that we've tried to do is make sure that we give extra opportunities. In our market space, there is a great need for more landscape contractors. Case in point, in the top 100 landscape companies in America right now, there are no African American and or Hispanic firms that are in that number. Last year, one company had revenue in excess of $2.2 billion in the marketplace. So we knew that we had to do something different. In that, our goal is to have a nonprofit portion of our business that deals with training for certified landscape technicians to provide the services that are still going to be needed. And I'm very thankful that the industry is recession-proof, thanks to all of you.
Got that right.
The third component is our most critical component for sustainability for the business as well as for the nonprofit piece. What we have been doing over the last 5 years, we have been going back and purchasing stock in the publicly traded companies that all landscape contractors have to use. That is the one thing a landscape contractor does not manufacture anything. So those companies like Steel and Echo, Toro, Husqvarna, we have made a conscious effort to go back and purchase that stock. Our goal at some point is to create a hedge and or private equity firm for the institutional investor to go and purchase large quantities of that stock because that's where we know our salvation is going to be.
Thank you, Andre. Give Andre a round of applause. Stay right there.
Stay right there,
I was taking
Andre.
notes too.
Okay.
Panelists.
Okay.
Stay right there. Listen, a seasonal business and a service business, kind of a tough business, but you've been around since 1998. Say a word or two of how Operation Hope and the business counselors perhaps challenged you to rethink the trajectory of your business and take it to another level.
Well, the one good thing about this business, it is just not seasonal. There's something always going on, always. What Operation Hope did for me was just kind of like what you did in '98 was great when you were actually still in the service part of it, but now you're in 2017 and 18, how do you focus in on what's happening in the now? So we knew that if we empowered other contractors, Hispanic, African-American contractors, to fine-tune themselves, it helps us expand our brand, but also in those local communities, we're spurring economic development to make sure that that money turns in that community.
That's great. Well done. That's great. Excellent. Thank you.
Andre, my dad was a landscaper. Sent
Great
all of
man.
us off to school on his landscaping business. And so he hired from the local community. I love the fact that you've aligned purpose to your organization. Can you talk a little bit about why you went in that direction and what would be some of the benefits of that?
Quality control is important because all of you demand it has to look a certain way. The reason for us doing it was to expand the brand, number one, and get a greater market share, since we're only dealing in, and we started out in residential. And the residential margins are good, but they're just not great. The commercial market, government, new install market, from restaurants to shopping centers, that's the kind of stuff we definitely need to focus in on. And people are still, those property managers, those project managers, it helps just knowing that the person that they're looking at is not someone in Atlanta. Right there in their local community, there's someone who's got his crew or her crew, because we deal with a lot of female-owned landscape contractors also, that is right there local, and they can actually reach out and touch. And we're still controlling that dynamic because we hire seniors and veterans to actually do a lot of our quality control.
Awesome.
That's fantastic. That's actually what I was going to ask about in terms of, you're in the talent management business at the end of the day.
Correct.
And so that contractor alliance, the value proposition that you provide, the purpose and the alignment that you have to get the right talent, sounds like you've made a lot of strides over the last several years in addition to building a business over 20 years. So congratulations on all your progress. Fantastic. Really well done.
Give Andre a round of applause. From Hotlanta, hometown. Okay, well, last but not least, we have a business owner from the great city of Birmingham, Alabama.
All right.
I know Birmingham was in the house earlier. You still in the house? All right. So at this time, I would like to have Danielle Hynes come on out from Birmingham, Alabama.
Hello.
When I was a little girl, my mom owned daycare centers, and my job was to entertain the children. So what I would do was charge the children their lunch money to come into my room to play with my toys.
That's smart.
Good afternoon. My name is Danielle Hynes. I'm a licensed attorney in Birmingham, Alabama, and also I'm a captain in the United States Air Force.
Wow.
Beyond that, I am also the proud owner of Party Boutique Kids. You didn't expect that, did you?
No.
I started Party Boutique Kids as a way to give back to the young ladies that I was mentoring. I have 13 nieces and nephews from 2 brothers. But I also saw birthday parties as a way to mentor and inspire. The young ladies that I was mentoring, I would go to their birthday parties and they would be, backyard parties. Nothing too extravagant, but I grew up with the philosophy that every child should have a party and that birthday parties were really special. So one evening, on a Sunday evening, I decided to create my own website. By that Wednesday, I had my first birthday party booked. In the first year of business, I did 51 birthday parties out of the trunk of my Toyota Corolla.
Wow.
What we provide for parents is a simple solution to planning a birthday party. Growing up, my mom was a single mom, and her focus was ensuring that we had a great, memorable experience. What was happening was that she was stressed out planning the party, and when the party was happening, she couldn't enjoy the party. I can't tell you how many events I've had where I can remember everything that happened, but my mom couldn't. So what we do is we take the stress out of the birthdays for the parent. We have a very simple birthday party booking system that's proprietary to us, and you can literally book a birthday party with everything included in about 3 minutes. The only thing the parent provides is food if they want it, and what we've done is we've partnered with other local vendors and some of my entrepreneurial class members from Operation Hope to provide those services. So, Honey Bun folks, when we move to DC, we'll definitely be giving you a call. But that is what we do at Party Boutique Kids.
That's exciting. Very well.
All right, thank you, Danielle. Stay right there. Great job. So turn it back over to our panel experts from SunTrust Bank.
Wow, that is exciting. I can remember tons of parties I helped my mom throw for my brothers. And yeah, I was her helper, so I don't know what happened at the party. So my question to you is, oh man, attorney, Air Force, you're a great overachiever, right? And so what inspired you outside of, helping your family and your mom, making sure your birthdays were special, but are you targeting a specific clientele? Is it mostly single parents, or how are you reaching out to get to your constituent group that you're trying to build your base from?
Well, the good thing about our business model is that we have two demographics. So on one hand, we have parents who are talking to other parents saying, hey, you need to call. I had one parent tell me she thought my business was a scam because it was so easy for her to book a birthday party. And then we have the second demographic we have are children, because other kids are coming to the birthday party and they're going, wow, I want a party just like you. And when they get back to school on Monday, they go, I was at her birthday party and I'm having a party just like hers.
Wow, that's great. First of all, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
To our country. We really appreciate that
Thank you
very
for your
much.
support.
I know we all do. Can you talk a little bit more about Hope Inside and the ecosystem of colleagues that you made friends with and that you're now aware of, that network, and how that's helping your business? I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, that's a great question. So what Hope did for us was that, like I said, we started out of the trunk of my Toyota Corolla. So I had a good problem. The problem was we were growing too quickly, and I didn't have a plan in place to scale it down. So when I went through the program, and I like to say I got a lot out of it, including a mentor from Damian Carson. I don't know where he is. He's in the room somewhere. Hey. I got a good mentor from him, and he said, Danielle, your business model works. We know it works. You've proven that it works. What you need to do is figure out a way to get out of your car and get into a mobile unit or a brick and mortar, whatever your plan is. And that's what Hope helped me do. It helped me focus my business idea and scale it so that we wouldn't have that good problem anymore.
Excellent. Good.
Well, I too want to thank you for your service. And as you said that you were a captain in the Air Force, I reached into my pocket and pulled out my JAG officer coin. I am not a JAG officer, but I know I don't look that old, but my daughter is one in the U.S. Army. So again, thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you.
I got to say, I went out and checked. I didn't book a party, Mark. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about
one for one of my four kids.
Yeah, let's book a party. But I just got to applaud the simplicity, and I'm a marketer. The simplicity and straightforward ease of use, and how I go from what we're talking about stress to confidence and financial perspective. The way that you're de-stressing, which is supposed to be something celebratory, and so your story hits home there. I think you're in a sweet spot where you're marketing to people who want experiences and celebrations, and you are de-stressing and making that easy for them. The party is just a mechanism to do it. Mm-hmm. Where do you go from here? Where do you think it goes when it's at its maturity and you want to sort of rule the world, because you seem to have that look?
Oh, yeah. Well, you've heard of Chuck E. Cheese, right?
Yeah.
I want Chuck E. Cheese in 5 years to say, who is Party Boutique Kids? Where did they come from, and how did this happen?
And why are they eating my lunch?
Yeah. All right.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Danielle. Let's give Danielle a round of applause.
Thank
Stay right there, Danielle. Stay right there. Stay right there. And if I could have all the other business owners come up at this time. Come on up, Andre, Ebony, Petra, and the McFarlands. Come on up. So we give them all a round of applause. You guys did a great job. Let's give a round of applause. And some of our financial coaches, you guys come on up as well. That's right. They put in a lot of time. 13 weeks of class. On top of that, mentorship. On top of that, technical assistance. So absolutely, commitment. And I want to acknowledge our financial coaches here and give them a round of applause for doing the great work. Doing the great work. Janice, Andrea, Jewel, Christina from Houston, and Damian Carson from Birmingham to help me put this segment together. Before we close, I want to allow our SunTrust executives final comments. And so, Stan, why don't we start with you?
Sure. I am thrilled at just the platform that you've put together at Operation Hope. I know we are a part of that. but you are executing on the ground. So I just really want to, before I say something about our entrepreneurs, just to applaud your effort.
Thank you. Thank you.
As well. The trek from being an employee to an owner, there can be a Grand Canyon between those two polars. And I love the stories that are so heartfelt, they're inspired. I just want to offer to you all that as you try to navigate the tough waters that you're trying to navigate, stay mindful that every one of the big businesses, the Amazons and the Facebooks and those sorts of things started out in scenarios just like yours, and it takes courage to do what you're doing. So thank you for displaying that courage.
Yeah, thank you. Lynette?
I just want to say I've sat in on some of the entrepreneurial classes here in Atlanta, and I think that taking the time to invest in not only yourselves but in your business is so critical to your pathway that you're projecting yourself on. And we believe in investing in our communities here at SunTrust, and so that's why we're engaged and involved. But taking that concept in your head, an idea, and having the courage to step out on faith and make that business happen, and then employ people. Because as you look at employment across the nation, entrepreneurs are the big employers. So congratulations and kudos to you.
Thank you, Lynette. And Mark.
You all are what make our country great. You all are what make our country great. People believe, and they need help. And you all have been instrumental in helping these folks accomplish their dreams and help them along that path. At SunTrust, we are so proud to be a partner with Operation Hope in all aspects of what you do. And it was wonderful for all of us to be a participant in today's discussion about the way in which we are growing as an economy through these types of initiatives and heartfelt business plans that have been put together, implemented, and you're changing the lives of your teammates, you're changing the lives of folks in your communities and serving the clients that desperately need your services. So congratulations, all of you. And we're delighted to be involved in the program.
Thank you. And again, I would like to give SunTrust Banks a round of applause for hosting this segment. Did you like this segment?
All right, that's a really good segment.
The Small Business Entrepreneurship Incubator segment. Thank you, Stan, Lynette, and Mark, for your time.
Yes.
And with that said, because of you believing in hope and believing in yourself, Operation Hope would like to award each of you $2,000.
Yes.
All right.
For doing your thing. Is that okay with you guys?
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Congratulations again. So nice to see you. Good.
All right, we have another exciting segment coming up. How's lunch? Everyone enjoying lunch so far? You're not ready to fall asleep yet, are you? We got some great stuff for you. Yeah, thank you. We're so excited to showcase the outcomes of our work because we know that it starts with support from our partners and our board members, but from there it starts with the outcomes of bringing people in the program, helping them to believe in themselves, and then after that it's the outcomes. And so part of the outcomes, as we just saw, is creating businesses that create jobs, as well as some of the other things we talked about. So with that said, I would like to bring up two colleagues of mine that I work very closely with as part of our Hope Research Impact Institute. How many of you are interested in data and believe data is very important? Show of hands. Okay, because we live in a data world. So at this time, I would like to introduce the Senior Vice President for Hope Research Impact Institute, Elaine Hungenberg, and her colleague, Vice President Sherman Cooper. So let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. Our chairman, John Hope Bryant, has always been a visionary. And throughout his career as the global leader in financial empowerment, he has been able to make connections that few others are able to see. One of those connections has been between credit scores and violent crime. Witnessing first the LA riots in 1992, and more recently, the unrest in Ferguson and Baltimore, Chairman Bryant's first-hand account of financial disparity, lack of hope, and absence of financial literacy and inclusion have allowed him to make a compelling observation. Communities with higher credit scores engage in less violent crime. 700 credit score communities do not riot.
To test this observation, my colleagues and I analyzed FICO scores, violent crime, and other publicly available data, including the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting and the U.S. Census. We put together these data at the county level to try to finally answer this question. Do credit scores predict violent crime? And do credit scores serve as a proxy for financial literacy gaps? We examine how FICO scores affect the likelihood of low to moderate income communities being among the safest U.S. counties. Our results suggest that FICO score does have an effect on violent crime reduction independent of income and criminal consequences. The big takeaway is this. For low to moderate income communities, raising FICO score from 616 to 744 increases the likelihood of that community being among the safest quartile of U.S. communities by 20 percentage points. That's a big deal. Financial literacy makes this difference. Take, for example, to bring this home, in the Atlanta metro area, Clayton County has an average FICO score that is only 616, and it has a violent crime rate that is 878% higher than Forsyth County, where the average FICO score is 719. Let's take a look at another example. In St. Louis, the average FICO score is only 654, and it has a violent crime rate that is 5,000% higher than the neighboring St. Charles County, where average FICO score is only is a whopping 720. And we're happy to talk about the fancy regressions and whatnot behind all of this after the presentation.
So we looked at 300 of the largest counties, and the results are the same. FICO score has an impact on social outcomes. When FICO scores increase, violent crimes decrease, or as Chairman Bryant always says, communities with higher FICO scores receive the memo of financial literacy, of financial engagement, of financial inclusion. Our research has some major implications. The most important is that financial literacy and empowerment programs like those offered by Operation Hope have the power to improve social outcomes, reduce violent crime, and close the financial information gap. Hope Research and Impact Institute is committed to continuing its research around financial empowerment and social outcomes to create a new world order of financial inclusion for all. Thank you very much.
Okay. Were you not inspired? Huh? Those are great people who have, or I should say, are becoming more of a great people and making a change. In very few minutes, our Director of All Operations, John Hope Bryant, will be up here in just a few minutes. But we want to just take the time to thank all of you for coming again today. I've seen many friends that I have grown to know and love here, and that's been very special. But continued with the inspiration. Oh, Dr. Foster's down there. You're going to hear from him a little bit later. But there's a lot of stuff going on, and we are the part of the change that we keep hearing about. We have to all be more financially secure, and the way to do it is the knowledge and the education. Open up a book. Go to a seminar. I remember years ago when I first got to Washington, D.C., I knew I did not know enough about what I needed to know about. And a company called Ferris Baker Watts used to give monthly seminars that were open to the public, talking about everything from LLCs to investing and things along those lines. Then do that. Check your community colleges, your regular colleges. You don't always have to pay for the knowledge that you gain. There are many people out there trying to get you to be more financially sound so they can take your money and also use it to invest. So just know that and how important it is. And one of the things that we learn from Operation Hope all the time is reaching out and bringing others up with you. And that's what's so very important. more than anything. It's never just about us. It's about who we can also help. Be a mentor. Don't be afraid to be a mentor, because that's what has helped me and many others to all move forward. And you look at Operation Hope, they are the best mentors because they're making it a more secure and also leveling the playing field for so many people who think they can't. And that's what we want to do here at Operation Hope. Have I talked long enough? Okay, that's what we were waiting for, the ready to go. Okay, you've heard my sermon for the day. In conversation right now, we have our Chairman and CEO of Operation Hope, John Hope Bryant. He's also the founder, but in conversation with the U.S. Comptroller of the Currency. We love talking about money, Joseph Otting. And so here they go. Whoops. I wasn't expecting you
Isn't she doing a great job? Isn't she doing a great job?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, you were sitting down there talking about money.
So, Mr. Comptroller, just 1 second. We'll put you in the green room. We have a special unscripted, unscheduled announcement. Now, this is just magic in a bottle. You can't make this stuff up. So people say, oh, John, how do you do it? I hustle. I work my tail off. An entrepreneur works 18 hours a day to keep from getting a job. If you don't have the magic of compounded interest, which means you got money in the bank, you have to have the magic of compounded hustle. You got to work hard. That George Fraser, you got to work hard. Get up early, stay up late, be twice as good, twice as intelligent, twice as hardworking. Do not be denied by anybody. So it's one thing for me to say this. It's another thing for us to underscore this with a proof point. So I said, and I'm going to commend Reverend Al Sharpton and Reverend Jesse Jackson, both of them part of our program. Reverend Al Sharpton was with us last night. He said that there was a reason why people march. It's not to be a solution, but to bring attention to a problem. Don't ask him about the solution. He's trying to bring the problem to a point of a boil. It makes perfect sense to me. We need that. It's important. It's not a but, period. We need that. And he also said, he would say, people say, Reverend Al Sharpton just wants attention from the media. Yes! Precisely right. So he said, nobody comes to me looking for me to keep a secret. That's what he said. But there also needs to be folks on the solution side of the balance sheet. Somebody sets it up, somebody else pays it off. Somebody else is saying we're been victimized, and somebody else says we're going to become victors. We have got to move from surviving to thriving. Can I get an amen out here? So you don't have to scream and holler every time you're upset about something. In fact, I'm going to say you shouldn't be getting upset. Whenever you get emotional, you lose. Don't react, respond. Life is 10% what life does to you, and 90% how you choose to respond to it. What's your response going to be? My response has always been more hustle, more work, doubling down, doing more. When you're sleeping, I'm working. No one's going to deny me. And I've been dismissed my whole career. Let me tell you something about, though, unending hustle. First, they will ignore you. Then they will criticize you. And then you keep it up, they will try to copy you. And then you win. First, they will ignore you. Then they will criticize you. Then they will try to copy you, and you keep your head down. You stay focused. You don't relent. You don't give up. You don't give an inch, and then you win. So somebody out there saying that's a nice speech, and, but John Bryant, where's the meat? You say I don't need to scream, I don't need to holler. You say it's somebody else's job to protest. Tell me the merits of what you're doing. Okay, we showed up here several years ago, so broke we couldn't pay attention. just barely making it, barely getting by. I said, just believe, just believe, just believe. We showed up for this meeting, and we laid it all on the line. We gave you everything we've got. We've given you everything. My team has given you everything we've got. We didn't beg, we didn't scream, we didn't holler, we didn't have our hand out. We're not trying to sell you nothing. We're just giving you, and believe that the universe has a perfect accounting system. Whatever goes around, comes around. And faith is what you do when you don't have all the facts. So one of my board members, Stefan Wilson, president of Global Human Resources for UPS. Let me break this down for you. That means he has 400,000 employees around the world. He's one of the 10 largest employers in the world. UPS, AT&T was up here earlier, really big company, 280,000 employees. He's got 400,000 employees. By the way, I'm pointing at it's a black man, it's him. This is not his messenger. This is not his basketball playing son. This handsome, debonair, quiet, not screaming, whatever, black man, great man who happens to be black, was inspired by what he saw here the last couple of days. He quietly went back to his office, quietly walked into the corporate office, said, you know, Operation Hope is delivering some real results. Said we should help them out and give them some encouragement so they can encourage others. Didn't wait a month, didn't wait a year, didn't send me a note, a platitude. I hope he prayed for me, but he backed to pray up with something real. He walked back in here today, this morning, didn't come to me, didn't profile, didn't want attention, was dropping off an envelope and was trying to leave. He said, who can I drop this off to, have a little something of encouragement? He tried to drop it off to a messenger, to an employee. Finally, they found me, and I almost passed out. Stefan, can you walk up here and tell him what you did?
Well, first of all, I think when John said he gave his all and his teams gave it his all, we need to give him a little more energy back. Can you join me for all that we've seen? Let's give him something back. You know, he's been able to create all these moments for other individuals, but I think it's only recognizable that we take the time to give him and his team something back for this outstanding world-class forum that he's put on for all of us, for our education, to understand what outreach can really do, and also the testimonials that you've been able to see how people actually been touched by their lives, their businesses, and really their future and beyond, that they're going to be able to go out and make a difference in our communities. But to John's point, the reason I'm here, I actually was dropping this off to someone else to give to John because of his busy schedule here. But I left here, and part of our outreach from a foundation standpoint is to continue to give to others, because when you look at my organization, the UPS, we really, our business is in your community. It's not somewhere else, or we can talk about something. It's in the communities in which we serve. And so it's incumbent upon me, from our foundation, from UPS, and from our people to bestow upon Operation Hope this check that I'd like to present to John for $175,000. And that is for the continued. It's the real thing, John.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure.
And that is for the continued mission, the continued.
It does have the UPS thing on it, don't it? The little stamp.
That is for the continued mission, the continued work that you've been able to observe here this week, and for this relationship to continue. And this is not a short-term relationship. This is a long-term relationship. And I want all of you all to know that because of the work's being done that you've been able to experience.
Well, hold on, wait a minute. Now, hold on. First of all, again, no screaming, no hollering, no drama, no protesting. Civil rights. Civil rights. He walked in quietly to the suite and said, because of my position in this corporation and because of what we say we are about, I need a check. That's it. Don't you want that kind of power? Don't you want that kind of power? Now, Stefan, I understand this. You about to walk off the stage. He was sort of come in and just hand the envelope to somebody. I get a check for $5 grand. They want me to blow it up and do a parade. Want me to do the splits? I'm so glad I saw you in the hallway. Don't you have another announcement that you got? You're amazing, man. Don't you have another announcement to make?
Well, also to continue on the relationship we have, we're opening up an Inside Hope operation this year at our global office. Also to show our deepened relationship and also helping the well-being of our employees as well, based on the tools, the products, and the deliveries that Operation Hope is exposed to all of us. So
Hope inside of UPS.
Yes.
Appreciate you. Come see everybody else and say thank you. You ain't getting the check back. I bet we depositing this afternoon.
Right now.
Right now. I may get a money check to the comptroller, make sure it gets in the bank.
Yes, that's a great segment. Thank you all for your applause. And we also have we've been hearing success stories and testimonials throughout the conference. And part of Operation Hope, there's a saying of three-legged stool. And that's private sector, community sector, and public sector. And that we feel after the '92 civil unrest in Los Angeles that bringing these three sectors together in collaboration to really address the challenges and concerns in communities that we serve is one of the real strategies that will produce an outcome. So at this time, I would like to bring up some special guests from the public sector, some of our government success stories. And at this time, I would like to have Luke Reynolds from the FDIC. It's like a reunion for me. I haven't seen these guys in a while. Barry Whitus, Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. Carmen Cruz, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And Sherry Dawson, Federal Communications System. Give them a round of applause, please.
By equipping people with the knowledge needed to use products and services from banks more effectively, FDIC's financial education activities help economic inclusion efforts be successful and sustainable. Our free non-copyrighted Money Smart financial education program has been around for 17 years. It provides materials to help people of all ages as well as small businesses learn more about managing their finances. Through our Money Smart Alliance program, we recognize organizations that use Money Smart in their communities. One of those, and among our first, is Operation Hope. In fact, our relationship with Operation Hope predates Money Smart. Thank you, John. Thank you, Janae. Thank you, Operation Hope team. Come by exhibit table to learn more. You can learn about our Money Smart Alliance program and how to join. And you can learn about the updated Money Smart for Adults curriculum we're excited to be releasing this September. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Barry Whitus with the Comptroller of the Currency, and you'll be learning a little bit more about the Comptroller of the Currency in a moment from Joseph Otting, who is the Comptroller of the Currency. He'll be interviewed by John Bryant. But in a nutshell, Community Affairs at the OCC prepares a range of materials for banks to use as they implement their Community Reinvestment Act programs. We have a range of materials at our table, which I encourage you to visit, looking at financial access and financial inclusion projects that banks have been able to implement as part of their CRA programs. Sitting at the table is Denise Murray, our Community Affairs Financial Literacy Coordinator, and Nancy Gresham-Jones, who is one of our regional community affairs officers that operates in the Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, and Tennessee states, and encourage those of you that are working in those states to introduce yourself to Nancy. She's very involved in the community, and community activities is what she wants to learn more about and how we can support you. So thank you, Operation Hope, for the opportunity to present today and to exhibit, and for the long-standing partnership we've had over the years.
Good afternoon. My name is Carmen Cruz, and I'm with the Division of Consumer Education and Engagement at the CFPB, which is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. It is my pleasure to be here to talk about our work that we share with Operation Hope. So through the Operation Hope Inside locations, the 700 credit communities, and also the Global Hope Forum, Operation Hope has helped the CFPB highlight our mission, and that mission is to educate consumers so that they have a fair chance when they are making financial decisions in the marketplace. The division I come from is the Consumer Education and Engagement Division, and there we provide financial education for consumers, we share effective financial education, and we also address inclusion and the need for security in certain communities, like service members, older Americans, students, and also the underserved communities and consumers. We have a lot of online resources that are available to you all, and we have bulk publications that you can order at our website, consumerfinance.gov. I would tell you to come by and visit us at our table to pick up our resources, but you have already done that. So we have very few resources left, but there's plenty online for you to order. Still come by and speak to myself and my colleague, Michelle Glass, and she's with Service Members Affairs. And we'd love to tell you more about what we do in the community. And thank you again for having us here today.
Good afternoon. My name is Sherry Dawson, and I'm with the Federal Communications Commission. And our agency regulates communications through telephone, television, radio. I work with the Consumer Affairs and Outreach Division, and my goal is to try to make sure that consumers know of the FCC rulemakings and initiatives that will benefit you and allow you to make informed choices when you choose to purchase your telecom devices or your services. We're here this afternoon to promote, or at least to let people know that they need to be aware of the consumer scams, especially the ones that are happening through the telephone and the robocalls. Trying to give you tips on what to do, which is basically don't pick up the phone. But just to give information on what to do if by chance you are scammed, how the FCC or the FTC can help you hopefully get your money back. We also have information on how to understand your phone bill. And I know a lot of us just pay it monthly and we don't look at the bill anymore, but sometimes certain providers will stick in $2 or $3 charges here and there every month, and then after a while you've paid $100 for something that you're not even getting. So we suggest that you look at your bill every month before you click that auto pay. And we have a lot of consumer information that we hope will be beneficial to you. I want to give a shout out to Janae, because she came to our National Consumer Protection Week event, and she's been pleading with us to come, and we finally made it to this global forum, and it's wonderful. So please come by and see us as well. We have some information that you can pass on to your friends and your family and your community. Thank you.
All right, this is take 2 of the introduction. Did you see how Joseph Otting jumped up here? That man is in shape. I told him to go back out and then when I called him again to come back up, but he wasn't in for that. So once again, in conversation, U.S. Comptroller of the Currency, Joseph Otting, and moderating, but actually just really talking with him, is our founder, chairman, and CEO of Operation Hope, John Hope Bryant. It's Joseph, the leaper.
So, most of you are like, that's fantastic, comptroller of the currency. And then you lean over and say, what's that? And that's natural. You can be the smartest people on the planet and not have any clue what that means. By the way, before I say anything, and the comptroller is a dear friend of mine, I call him comptroller now because whenever you take these public positions, you get no respect, no money, and nothing but drama. At least you get a title. So I'm going to call you Mr. Comptroller. But this afternoon, we're going to bring this house down. We got coming up the chairman CEO of Delta Airlines. You saw the leadership he displayed recently. We got him, Ed Bastian, coming. And then we got Ambassador Andrew Young, Chris Tucker, Shaka Zulu, T.I. Going to close this thing down. Going to close the meeting down. End it on a bright, talking about the business of the entertainment business. Are you enjoying this? We're going to leave you on a high spot. So now let me pivot to a personal, this is a personally important session for me. I want to acknowledge your wife, Bonnie, who's in the audience now, who's a rock. Bonnie, please stand up. Bonnie's like, John, never do that again. Joseph Otting and I, Chairman, the Comptroller Otting, I've known each other for 20 years.
Yes.
You were at, in no particular order, Union Bank as Vice Chairman, U.S. Bank as Vice Chairman, One West Bank as CEO. Did I miss one?
No.
And then became Comptroller. And he served on the board, full disclosure, served on the board of Operation Hope for a few years, so everybody needs to know that. Over that time, we didn't always agree on everything. And heck, we didn't agree on something backstage about 2 hours ago. But we agree on the most important things. We both want to transform communities. We both want to see America prosper. We both believe in dignity and human possibilities. We both believe in the power of the poor and the underserved as a savior of this country. We both believe that banking can be a force for good. We both believe that there's responsibility for banking. I mean, we both like each other, remarkably. At least I like you. And what's my point here? My first point before I get into the comptroller of the currency is, over the course of the 20 years I've known Joseph, there have been other people who have disagreed with Joseph and his leadership at different times in different places. And versus just having a disagreement with him and fighting it out with the rules and the facts and playing fair, I think there's been a little bit of a personalization of some of this stuff that makes it hard to respond without feeling a personal sort of kind of way about it. And I think that we can evolve the way we operate. People are passionate about these topics. I know the folks who had an issue with some of the stuff that supposedly you did at One West, which I believe was wrong. It was an IndyMac Bank, which was a crappy bank that you bought back then. That they could have stepped over mess and not in it. They could have still made their point without it becoming unattractive. So you don't have to say it. I said it. You would never have said it. I wanted to say it. That I think that we've got to talk without being offensive, listen without being defensive, and always leave even our adversary with their dignity. Because if we don't, they'll spend the rest of their life trying to make us miserable. It becomes personal. And I think that we can all agree, at worst, we're going to disagree. Can we all get along?
Yep.
So I know his heart, and I know behind closed doors, I try to cut a deal with Joseph. Because I knew him. I'm like, oh man, he's the CEO of a bank. I can get some money. And he wouldn't cut the deal with me. He wouldn't close the deal with me. This was back in his banking career. because he was smarter than me, he was concerned that 2 or 3 years later that it might look bad optics because we were so close, and he was going to be buying an institution. And so we waited and did something really when you were on your way out the door at that institution. That set up to be a lot about your character, a lot about your ethics, a lot about your values, and you never cut corners. I've always found you to be honorable, and so when you decided you wanted to be comptroller of the currency, other than asking you, were you crazy, I thought it was a great idea because it was a chance for you to do good public service. And thank you for doing it. Now, people are saying, what's the comptroller of the currency? You want me to do it or you want to do it?
You're doing a great job, John.
Okay, so everybody's looking at your watch and looking at your food. Let me see if I can get your attention. $11 trillion of U.S. banking is under his supervision in assets. Steve Marley's shaking his head, I'm getting this right, $11 trillion. I didn't say billion, I didn't say trillion dollars. 70% of every bank in this country reports to him. 70%. So if you're trying to get justice for your community, you're trying to get fair play in lending, you're trying to make sure that you're not being discriminated against or bias is baked into the lending process, is it more effective to just go raise heck at the bank branch, which again, in some points, for raising the attention level on something may be important, right, George Fraser, may be important. That may be part of a strategy. But Dr. King would protest so that he could get the attention and then let Ambassador Young, go in the back door after the protest to negotiate to get the whites only signs down. See, the point was that everybody won and you resolve the issue. So if you're trying to resolve the issue, upgrading our software, then isn't it also make sense to figure out what his address is in Washington? in Washington,
407th Street Southwest.
Oh, you gonna roll like that? Go and give me your email address. I suggest you don't, by the way. But the comptroller of the currency is 400. That's the address, right?
Yes.
And if somebody wants to reach out to you, if we finish the conversation, how do they do that?
You go right to the OCC website. We review those emails coming in all the time, so it's a very simple process.
So everybody will get a response.
That's right.
Right. And you had a representative up here a minute ago, very good guy, Barry Whitus. He's a deputy comptroller.
That's right.
So they can reach out to him.
That's right.
Right. And so now we got your attention. $11 trillion in assets.
12 by the way, John.
$12 trillion. Money grows on money overnight. Reverend Jackson suggested that a couple of days ago. So $12 trillion. So you're walking through the hallway, and this guy's walking by you. He doesn't have a security detail. It's just him and his wife. And you running around trying to catch, I don't know, some rap star, whatever, to get an autograph. And this dude just walked by, he could change your whole life. We need to get the memo, people. We need to stop and slow the heck down and start reading the details of who's running what and how are they doing it and how can they help us. Can I get an amen? Amen. So, Joseph, now, Comptroller Otting, why don't you, in your own words, express why you took this position, why it's important to you, and then I would like to pivot as soon as we can into a Community Reinvestment Act.
Sure. First of all, it's a genuine pleasure to be back here. When I was a banker, many years, I showed up. I was able to participate in some of the panels. But more importantly, it was a learning experience for me, like all of you. I think, as we come to these events and we learn about opportunities and how to empower ourselves in financial literacy and take those back to our communities, you then get to be the John Bryan of all your communities about financial literacy. It's an interesting story. Not everybody, I think, wakes up, first of all, and says, I want to be a banker. When I was growing up, most kids want to be firemen, doctors, truck drivers, fire engines, all those kind of things. But somehow you end up in a certain profession, you do well in it, you graduate up through it, and 35 years later, you kind of pop out the back door, willing to go on and do something in a new world from a retirement perspective. When I was first approached about being the comptroller of the currency, I really thought that the things that I saw in the banking business that we could change to make banking better, there was no one more prepared than myself to do that. We had not had a banker in 40 years be the comptroller of the currency. It had always been a lawyer or somebody else from one of the supervisory agencies.
Who are also noble and well respected.
Yeah, great people. Yeah. However, when you really live something day in and day out, you often can see the positives and the negatives of it. And I really knew that there were 3 or 4 key things that we could do to make a difference, and we could do it very quickly. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about those, but I just wanted to echo John's comment about the comptroller of the currency. It was started by Abraham Lincoln in 1863. And if you can imagine that time in history with all the volatility and all the issues going on, that all of a sudden Lincoln, in his profound way on so many other things, decided he wanted to have a national banking system. So if you think about that period of time, can you imagine the U.S. government saying, we're going to have a national banking system and trying to deploy that back onto the states? They must have thought, is this guy frickin' nuts? You know what I mean? That we want something out of Washington to control our U.S. banking system. Now, 150 years later, we are, responsible for the safety and soundness of the banking system. And so we're charged with making sure that the banks that operate in the U.S. are safe, they provide fair products, and they treat their consumers in a satisfactory manner. And that is the mission, really, of the OCC. There are 4,000 people that come to work every day to protect your banking system. And that's what really the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency is all about.
So we had one of your peers here with you, the Vice Chairman of the Federal Reserve, 2 days ago. Maybe in a minute you can explain the difference between what you and the Fed does. Then we had the President of the Federal Reserve of Atlanta here yesterday, and those are 3 different functions. And you get the FDIC here and all these in the CFPB. So make sure we can describe the differences in these agencies. But let me talk about the long view very quickly before we get to CRA. I'm going to go back to a story that I think the audience will love tied to the OCC. Before I get there, tied to that as far as a relationship management piece, I knew you for at least 15 years. We know each other more than 20 years now, before we did any business together. And then when we did business together, it was small business. It was cheap. And it was not a big deal, whatever. And I kept pushing you. I kept pushing you. And you would listen, you take the meeting. But I think you were checking me out, and I think that we were trying to build a relationship. But if I had just decided I wanted to win the battle and not the war, if I decided that I was going to get angry, that I'm going to curse Joseph Otting out, to be blunt, and walked away, the relationship would have been damaged. You follow me? The long view of what we could do together for the other people, because it wasn't about me, would have been hampered, and he wouldn't be here today. Because he wouldn't have trusted me that he would have come here and we give him a fair hearing. You follow what I'm saying? So make sure you're winning the war and not just the battle. I don't want you, strategically, I don't want you rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic of your life. I don't want you getting emotional about something and yeah. And then you find you're emotional, but you're broke. And there were so many times where, again, it was robust, it was respectful disagreement. We just philosophically had a different view on a very small thing. We've agreed on 95% of what matters, right? But I'm so happy that I didn't have a short-term view because you had a long-term view in our relationship. You were more right. What I'm saying is, Joseph, I never said to you before because I don't want to get you a big head. You were more right about our relationship than I was. And you believed in us more than I believed in you. And I want to thank you for loving me and caring. You're a good man.
Thank you.
Now, why is all this important? Tell you, coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous. He mentioned Abraham Lincoln. We didn't talk about this. 1863 is the date he gave you. Check this out. Abraham Lincoln sits at his desk, 1865. Some of you know where I'm going. March 3rd. Signed legislation for the Freedmen's Bureau Act. The Freedmen's Bureau Act created, yes, hospitals and yes, schools. But the Freedmen's Bureau Act also created a bank. It was called the Freedmen's Bank. It was created by Lincoln to teach freed slaves about money. It was created after the Civil War. 2 months before that was what we call 40 acres and a mule. It was 400,000 acres set aside down the eastern coast. The next month, we worked that land so hard, no Snapchat, no Facebook, no Twitter, no Instagram, no cell phone, no way to communicate with each other. But we heard there was land available for former freed slaves. We didn't complain about it, whine about it, argue about it. In fact, it was crappy land because it was on the beach. You want beachfront property today, but in the agricultural age of 1865, you put your seeds in the sand and you wake up tomorrow and your crop's in Jamaica. So it was horrible land, but we didn't complain about it. We've been doing so much with so little for so long. We can almost do anything with nothing. We just got to it. 1,000 former slaves took that land, worked that land, George, so well. General Sherman said, my God, they're so industrious, give them a mule. You don't know what I just said? 40 acres and a mule. That's where that came from. It was January and February 1865. The next month, not the next year, not a century later, the next month, 1865, Abraham Lincoln signs Freedmen's Bureau Act, creates the Freedmen's Bank, puts in God's We Trust on U.S. currency to try to set America straight again by giving former slaves land, equipment, knowledge, a savings vehicle, and access to capital so that we knew better so we could do better. And he was killed the next month. And he was killed because he told Booth, or he said, I want to now give blacks the right to vote. That was 1865. And Booth said, that's a bridge too far. He didn't live another month. Frederick Douglass steps up, and you know him as an abolitionist. No, he's a businessman. George knows this. He's a businessman. He owned land in Baltimore, lots of it, worth $6.5 million today. He put $10,000 of his own money. He wanted to go run this bank himself. He put $10,000 up, Joseph, to run this bank because he thought it was that important. The money was lost. And it was said the failure of this bank did more to set freed slaves in America back than 10 more years of slavery. Now you pop your fingers from 1874. The bank was closed in 1874. From 1865 to 1965, when we talked about money again, that was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in Memphis, Tennessee with the Poor People's Campaign. What's my point? Beyond the fact that we are not dumb and we're not stupid, we just never got the memo on money. Forget that. Here's the point. That was an OCC bank. The Freedmen's Bank was a first chartered bank to help poor black people save themselves. It was the first bank ever chartered by the Comptroller of the Currency for uplift and liberty. It was the original Community Reinvestment Act by Abraham Lincoln. It was one of his regulated banks, and the OCC Comptroller got the Nobel Peace Prize in the long history. So he's running an agency that has a moral responsibility and not just a fiscal responsibility. So now, what are you going to do about it?
We're going to help with a dream.
Let's talk about that.
So one of the things that we think is really important in the agency is that we redo the Community Reinvestment Act. And a lot of you know about the Community Reinvestment Act. It's a provision that was done in 1977. It was very simple. It said that banks will lend in the communities to which they operate. Very noble cause at that point in time. Over the last 40 years, we've changed the structure, we've added regulations, we've mucked it up, we've taken away products that people can invest in communities. And we will have a proposal at the beginning of April, and I would say exactly 128 days of my being sworn in, where we think we're going to revolutionize CRA in America. So the question is, how are we going to do that? We think there's three things that are important to occur. One is we think we need to create a measurement system for all banks of America. So each of you can look at a bank that you want to do business with or that is in your community, and you can understand their commitment to CRA. And the technical part of how we're going to do that is we're going to take their CRA commitments, we're going to divide it by an item on their balance sheet, and you'll be able to compare a $100 million bank in Savannah, Georgia, to JP Morgan, and you'll be able to decide what is their commitment to CRA. I think it'll change people's perspective of where they want to bank.
The second part. Let me back up. And you're going to make it available for all these delegates and everybody watching on Facebook, everybody watching on TV, and all these millions of people who feel invisible in America. You're going to make it easy for the average American to get a hold of that rating so they know what their bank is doing in their network, in their community, around Community Reinvestment Act?
That's right. It's the most complicated thing we have in the banking industry today.
Yeah.
No one could do it. I couldn't do it today. It's very complicated. The second element that we are proposing to do is to expand the product set that qualifies for CRA. Today, it's basically low to moderate income mortgages and low to moderate income multifamily. And it's our viewpoint that you should take small business lending, you should take student lending in low to moderate income areas, and probably just as important to me and to most of you, in the Black community and the Latino community, we understand the difference between church and state. But if you really think about it, in the communities of America, in the church where they go for their guidance, their support and trust, the community side of those churches today don't qualify for CRA, and our proposal is that they would, because I think all of you know the importance of that. And the third factor, which we will try to do, which I said, is we will produce that data on a quarterly basis so everybody knows at any point in time whether a bank is in compliance with CRA. And this is really an initiative that started at the OCC. We're partnering with the Fed and the FDIC, and we plan to bring that to the market for comments at the beginning of April.
So stop talking shorthand. Partnering with the OCC's partnering with the Fed. You're like, what are you talking? Let's break it down.
Partner
OCC
means that they support
Federal
the
Reserve.
initiative. Yes, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation and the Federal Reserve.
Thanks.
So this will be a bank-led or industry-led initiative with nonprofits, legislators, and everybody getting behind it. I've talked to 1,000 people in the last 30 days about putting this program forward. I've never had one person who didn't stand up and almost cheer after they really understood the program. This is monumental change, I think, for America.
So are you just talking to bankers about this? Who are you talking to?
We're talking to community groups. We're talking to religious groups. Mark Whitlock, a lot of you people know Mark Whitlock. I was at Core Church Friday. Mark had 50 people there.
Whoa. You're talking to 50 people?
50.
Like you're talking to small groups too?
No. That was just Friday night.
I mean, in other words, you're doing clutch meetings with 10 people, 20 people.
Yes.
So it's not just, that's fantastic.
One people.
One person, all right?
Right.
One people.
I mean, really,
my mother had you hemmed up in the corner a while back.
So, the key is we need the support of nonprofits, we need the support of religious groups, we need the support of the bankers, we need the support of the regulators, and we need the support of the legislators to get this through the process. Because if anybody starts to poo-poo it, it'll create friction along the way. And we're not going to have it 100% right, but we're going to be pretty close to being 99% right.
So are you finished with your proposal? Yes. I've got a challenge for you. I want you to do more. I just mentioned the legacy you came from, the history. That was effectively a Marshall Plan for former slaves. We had a Marshall Plan that put Japan and Germany, and to a lesser degree France, back together after World War II. What if I said to you, pretty revolutionary comment, and I believe everybody in the advocacy community, the nonprofit community, would agree with this statement I believe that I'm about to make. I think that CRA, Community Reinvestment Act, which has started as a regulatory must, is where I got my financial literacy course when I was 9 years old, by the way, home economics class in Compton, California, which doesn't exist anymore. But it started there, then it sort of went to eye rolling, charity giving out, but not serious. Then it went to public affairs, then it went to compliance. Now it's sort of check a box. But there are some serious programs that are supported. But it's not in the CEO's window of what he or she's looking at for most companies. It's over in a corner. Here's my challenge to you. I'm challenging you, but also asking you, knock it down if it doesn't make sense, Mr. Comptroller. I think there's 100 million Americans in this country who have dignity, who have respect, who are wonderful human beings, who just don't understand money, free enterprise. They made a mistake at some point in their life, but they're not a mistake. They had a divorce. They lost their job. They got caught in the subprime mortgage crisis. They got caught in the economic crisis of 2008. And to me, redemption's important. And I think you have 100 million Americans who could contribute to the American economy if we just let them back in. And what I want to do is the use of Community Investment Act is a broad-based business development tool for banks and mainstream financial institutions to organize a process in a way that people can redeem themselves, to step back into the financial system, get off check systems and get a bank account. Get out of the payday lenders, get out of the rent-to-own stores, get out of the title lenders, get out of this high price debt, get out of this poverty cycle, and get transitioned into a place of dignity and respect where they can walk into a bank, look somebody in the eye, and know that they have earned their right to get a yes for a mortgage loan or a small business loan. I think we can do that by using sophisticated tools like credit scores, as we use at Hope Inside, to get the bank out of the no business and back into the yes business. I want to upgrade CRA to be a business development tool for banks. When a banker sits down, chairman sits down, he has a vice chairman for international. He has a vice chairman for commercial lending. These are places that makes him money or her. Why couldn't there be a vice chairman? You don't have purview over this, I know that. But why couldn't there be a vice chairman for emerging markets that sort of takes the graduates of CRA programs and as they migrate up, become legitimate business for that bank? I think there's a 1 or 2% of GDP growth hidden in the audience right here. Yeah. So I don't just want to mess around with this. I think you have a chance to really touch the hem of history here. And I don't think it's a push. I'm not asking you for a handout program. I'm not asking you for a gimme. I think that the folks here are prepared to, now we didn't talk about this, don't embarrass me. I think we're prepared to earn our way into success. Is that all we can get? I think we're prepared to earn our way into success. This is the comptroller, this is the James Brown version of affirmative action. Okay. Open the door, I'll get it myself.
Right.
So am I talking crazy talk here?
No, I think everybody who's a community representative from a bank today is celebrating because they got a promotion today.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But I think, John, community reinvestment is one part of that equation. The other equation, quite frankly, is if you really think about the kind of sub 600 FICO score, yep, the banks really were kind of forced out of that space by regulation. Yep. And if you've kind of read any of my comments, one of the other big initiatives that we have is we want banks to get back in that space because, you know, whatever the size of the market is, some people estimate it's between 50 and 100 million people. There's a 50 to 100 million people that don't have access to credit today because of the regulations. And we've been telling the banks to get back into that space. From day one, when I showed up, I said CRA, small ticket consumer lending, and BSA are the things we're going after. Because a lot of things which you haven't commented on is people walk into a branch today, and because of the BSA laws, they can't open up a checking account.
They don't know what BSA means.
Bank Security Act, sorry, we use acronyms in the government but you go in and they ask you all these questions and you've had a checking account closed before and you can't open up a new checking account. Those are the barriers that we need to take down. My viewpoint is on small ticket consumer lending is if we can get banks back in that space, they're not going to be able to eliminate all the check cashers or all the payday lenders, but the top third of that market, those people can qualify for cheaper, more affordable, more successful, but more importantly is we would require those banks to report into the TRW system. And so if you take out one of those loans and you do it well, that qualifies you to get back into mainstream America from a banking where you're just like everybody else going into that bank.
So require the banks to report into TransUnion,
that's right,
Equifax,
right,
FICO,
that's right.
What's the other one? Experian.
Right.
Okay, good.
And there's another bill coming out of the House today. You know, the House and the Senate, the House can pass a bill and it's got to get the Senate. But there's a bill that came out of the House that requires utilities and other providers of your home services to report into the credit system.
Oh, wow.
So if you want to get behind something, get behind that bill and tell your senators that you want to pass that. because utilities today, if you pay your utilities, that should be a demonstration of your ability to manage credit. So,
I don't know if you know it, but when you pay your rent, that's a form of credit. You're paying, help me out, utility bills.
Cable bill.
Cable bills. By the way, don't miss a payment. They'll report the bad news and block you, but the good news doesn't get reported, right? So this fair exchange is no robbery. It should go both ways.
That's right.
If you're going to report the bad news, you must be required to report the good news. That's
right.
brilliant. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so this is part of your holistic vision of.
That's right.
Okay.
I think people have to figure out a way to get all your great work, John, about working on people's FICO score. We also have to help people, because if you don't offer bank products there, you go to the lowest common denominator, meaning that you get the worst product. You get trapped in a consumer with a high interest rate and you can't repay it. And banks really need to play an important role in that equation.
And we're going to make sure you're of course the advocates, and I love our advocate community. When Bob Gneza was a part of Greenlining, which I love, folks used to complain about Bob Gneza. I said, look, Bob Gneza is a great guy. He believes in America, and thank God he's there. But after you talk to Bob Gneza, you can't wait to talk to me. But I think the advocacy community was going to be concerned that we're going to allow banks to create products that are not competitive, affordable. That in other words, you're going to make sure there's some framework on that.
That's right.
Safe and sound lending.
That's right.
Okay. So check that box. Okay, let's go back to the upside of this message. So we got a defensive message that's going to be capstone. I'm going to come back to you again and make sure that, I'm going to ask you two questions. Make sure that I'm being clear. One, you weren't dancing around my question when I said, I don't think you were, I'm asking, can CRA pivot slowly to become viewed as a legitimate, credible, taken seriously business development or R&D, research and development tool for the future for a population of people who should be seriously considered as future customers for banks? That CRA in doing good banking business should ultimately be one, that's not too ambitious.
Well, first of all, I don't have control over that. But so to answer your question is I can't go out and mandate to the banks to do that. But I think, the other thing I would say, John, is CRA is only half of that equation. Okay. There's a whole other qualification of products and services that can be provided that won't be CRA qualified. But I think there could be a business segment that says we're going to create a channel that's going to help people back into mainstream banking. And that's, whether it's a CRA product or something else, that's where I think you get the momentum.
And by the way, as far as a regulator go, that's about as positive a comment as you're going to get. He's got to be very careful about what he says, and I want to respect that. We got to wrap up, but have you enjoyed this? No one talks to us bluntly about how this stuff works, right? So we're forced to then assume or presume. So thank you for doing this, Comptroller. The Hope Inside model. Just in closing, any comments, thoughts? Are we on the right track?
John, we were an early adapter at One West Bank. It is, to me, the link between finding a way for people to get into mainstream banking and the difference between a no and a yes. And the yes may take a little bit longer, but when banks would turn people down, they'd go out the door, and where would they go? Check casher, payday lenders, liquor stores, pawn shops. This is a way to help people to get to the yes in the proper way in the mainstream of banking. It's an admirable effort. I've been a supporter of it from day one. I think great things are happening. The consultation that you gave the business people, the statistics show that almost 80 or 90% of small businesses fail within the first 5 years. And usually it's not because they're doing bad things, it's because often they're doing too good of things. They take too many orders, they don't have a structure, they don't know how to run the business. Providing that infrastructure to them is going to give all these people legs to the future of their business. So I commend you on that, John, and thank you very much for all you and the Hope Organization's activities.
Thank you very much. We're going to wrap up. I'm going to leave you with a positive challenge. Some of you have heard me say that beyond racism, discrimination, bias, police brutality, the other range of things that bedevil minority communities and black communities, the credit score for, and I'm gonna just pick a group here, African Americans, the Latino credit score is slightly better, but the credit score for African Americans is 44% of all African Americans have a credit score below 620. 44%. That means, no matter how nice you are, how beautiful you are, how well dressed you are, how many times you go to church, how many times how nice you are to your mother, none of that matters. You can't get a job in America because half of employers check your credit, and you can't get a small business loan because no small lender will give you an unsecured credit below 620 credit score. Now, nobody's telling you that. I'm telling you that. So when you wonder why your dreams can't be realized, you can't get a good mortgage, you can't get a consumer credit, you can't get an unsecured line of credit, you cannot get a business loan. So half of black folks are locked out of the credit markets. To be blunt, you're locked out because your credit score is way below what's acceptable. So my positive challenge for you is if through CRA and these other innovations, at the end of your tenure, we found that credit scores have raised up because people have done the work, no handouts here, to get their credit score up. If we can get the credit score up of black America by 20%, Latino America by 10%, you just earn your way into heaven. Oh, whoa! I'll take that. Ladies and gentlemen, the Comptroller of the United States of America.
Thank you.
And I got a little surprise for you, Joseph Otting. The Hope Innovation in Emerging Markets Award, and I wasn't gonna give you this award unless you said some good things about CRA. In recognition of your innovative leadership and an active engagement around the advancement of the underserved, you are a true visionary whose forward-thinking and active engagement has notably influenced the future of those we collectively serve. To the Honorable Joseph Otting, the Comptroller of the United States of America.
Thank you. Okay. That's beautiful.
Got more stuff to carry now. He decided not to leap off. Folks, it's time for the Idea Labs now. So please gather up your things, make your bathroom stops, and then get to the Idea Labs. There's some more great ideas, and then we'll see you back here about 4 p.m. Lots more to come. Thank you.